Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another great episode of Golf and Politics. Today, Rob, we have a special guest, a friend of yours and somebody I hope becomes a friend of mine. I read his book over the weekend, The United States of Golf. We're going to get into this. It's a great book that I highly recommend. But Patrick Koenig is one of the most recognizable golf photographers and storytellers in the game today. And he's gone around the country not once, but twice in a recreational golf vehicle. And on his second trip, he set a world record for the most amount of golf courses played. So I know that our listeners are going to love this episode. But Rob, why don't you go ahead and introduce Patrick and tell us how you know Patrick.
Patrick is one of the most interesting people that I've had a chance to play golf with. And I think last year I played 166 different courses, played with over 500 people. And only a few of them really stand out. Like, you have a lot of special days. But Patrick Koenig is one of those guys where, you leave that round thinking, what an interesting human being. He likes to do push-up contests, high kick contests. You can't play a par 3 without the ace cam on. He himself is an experience. And after playing all of that golf in 1 year, which frankly was just too much at 166 different courses, to think that this man played well over 500 in 1 year, like, you got to be a little, sick in the head. I don't know what would prompt somebody to do that. Of course, we're going to find out in this episode. But what a great guy. What a fun round of golf. He's a good player. He's entertaining. He's always positive. Doesn't get down on himself. And we've happened to play 5 really good golf courses. He played the Ellsworth Loop with RTJ, Fox Chapel, Pete Dye, and Longview. And we also played a great course down in South Carolina called the Tree Farm, which is a special place. We met through social media and through mutual friends, Ashley Mayo and her husband, Mr. Mayo. And and we have a ton of mutual friends, the Hebrew Hammer, David Forgan, and the list goes on and on and on. I was checking his Instagram this afternoon, and we have 248 similar friends. Some of them are actual mutual friends, and then I think the rest are probably just the rest of the world of golf that finds him interesting and compelling. But what a peach. What a wonderful guy. I don't know what else to put it. I'll let you kick it off with the first question, Matt.
Well, Patrick, thanks for coming on the podcast. In your book, which again I can't recommend highly enough, get out there and buy The United States of Golf. But Patrick, your book opens with a perfect golf and politics moment. You're at Sleepy Hollow, which is in my top 10 courses in the United States that I've played, and you're there on the same day as former President Bill Clinton. So set the scene for us. What do you remember about that day? And did you really just casually call the former president of the United States, the former leader of the free world, did you just casually call him Bill when you met him?
That's true. That's true. But first up, I have to back up because I think I took a barrage of compliments there, and that were pretty impressive. Thank you guys for that tremendous introduction, and a lot of those things they're really they were genuine and made me feel like I'd come a long way and kind of the person that I want to be. So that was quite the intro. So thank you for that. And yes, yeah, it was kind of like. So it was kind of like it was an overcast day, we get in there, and but it was we're kind of waiting, and my host for the day tells me it's going to be a bit of a slog. He lets us know that I think that's how that chapter starts out. The book starts out after the foreword by Tom Coyne. It's going to be a bit of a slog today, and I had no idea what he was talking about, but word got around that Bill is going to be playing golf with James Patterson, and it's like, oh, this, you get a little excited, see somebody that, the former president of the United States, and I literally kind of like, where is he? He's going to be late for his tee time, and it just kind of turned around, and he was right there. And there's something about Bill that is, you can see why people like him so quickly, because you instantly see him, and it's like this inviting sort of like, just, you know him or something? There's something. And he just shook his hand. Oh, hey, Bill. And, it was smooth, and he just goes down. The funny thing I remember about that day, is that he loves golf, like, but he's not very good at it. Like, honestly, objectively, I watched him hit this double chip that went like about 50 yards backwards it was the Redan hole. He must have heard us all kind of laughing because we were kind of playing up pretty close to him all day. It was kind of one of those days where there's not big separation. Then the exchange in the clubhouse where I knew the rule, about the exemptions. I might have even forgotten what it was that because I wrote that chapter when it happened back in 2018 and 2019. So it's been 6 years since I lived that moment with Bill. But that was a pretty cool thing where I was able to like give a little wisdom to the president or a little clarification on the rules of golf. I don't know if it was wisdom, but and then just kind of walk away pretty cavalier about the whole engagement. And then my dad with the telling me that I was now a presidential advisor. So that's how that book starts out. That little story. Obviously, one of the things that's interesting about writing a book is that you can take all those details that like your brain can't really formulate and put into a sentence when you're talking to somebody and then kind of line them up. So you'd be like, okay, I got all my stuff now. This is the story, versus just an oral recantation of it, is not quite as complete.
Well, tell us also early on in the book, and I'd like you to set the scene about how you decided to go on your first recreational golf vehicle tour, the RGV tour. And early on in the book, you write, it's easy to dismiss grand ideas as foolish and return to your regularly scheduled programming. You did the opposite in your life. And how have those choices completely changed maybe the trajectory of your life?
100%. That's good. I love the fact that read that back to me because it was very, very much a thing I think a lot of people do, and I did. You kind of do it, in your brain beforehand. You have this grand idea, and then you dismiss it. You do these things, and so you understand how easy it is to just not do it, and to be like, oh well, this is how I get food and shelter and all these things that I need. But then there was kind of a point that I just said I wanted to go for it. I was like, I'm in a position. I don't know if I'll be in a position where I have some disposable income, and it just jumped. You kind of just have to say, I'm tired of just living it wasn't a mediocre life, but it was like, I yearned for something else. There was something dissatisfying about my sales career, even though I was good at it. I was like, this is not the I see other people doing stuff that they love to do, and I'm not doing that. And so I said, let's just go for it. In that moment, of quitting my job and purchasing that RV, there's certain things where you like do it and you're like, now I'm doing it. I quit my job. Like people have quit their job before. Okay. I purchased an RV. There's $60,000. Like, okay, I've definitely got to do this now because I'm 60 grand in for this. That initial RV was 60 grand, and to answer your question, how has that changed the trajectory of my life? I mean, it's like there's life before the first recreational golf vehicle, and there's life after. I mean, it is like it's a right turn. It's not a 360, but it's a hard right, and it's good. It's good with the left turn. I don't know what it would have been there, but I know straight ahead wouldn't have been as interesting if and as satisfying as looking back. When I made that decision in 2018, like I just feel so grateful, so lucky, so fortunate. I don't run into Rob. Matt, we're not here talking today.
Yeah.
That to me would be a crime. I mean, there's so many people in my life that I love, and I consider it to just be really lucky to have met guys like Rob especially. That it's I don't want to look back and be like, oh, thank God I did that. It really is a gift that I had the ability to just chase after what I loved.
When you're mapping out this venture, how far in advance are you scheduling tee times? And on top of that, um, to play over 500 rounds in a year, that's more than one a day if people can do basic math. That requires just a considerable amount of planning. Were you doing this all yourself on your phone, or did you have somebody helping you schedule?
It was a lone mission. I mean, there was when I say helping me schedule. Of course, there was lots of these are private clubs, and so members were helping me to play their courses. But I was the guy with the calendar, and it was a nonstop effort. It was everything from like so kind of way I did it was states and dates. There's 50 states. I was like, we can generate. There's 50 yeah, 52 weeks in a year. I think that's right. And so it's a week a state essentially. So that's kind of a guideline. All right, let's look at that. New York has got some great stuff. Maybe I spend 2 weeks there. I don't want to spend much time in Louisiana. We could blow through there, Mississippi, in a couple days. And so I kind of started, figuring out these things, and eventually I get weeks in a route kind of planned out, and then I say, all right. I opened it up to anybody that wanted to be a part of this tour. Anybody reached out, hey, come join me in Arkansas, and I had a handful of people that were there. So now I have these courses and people that want to play, and I put it all in a spreadsheet. And then I had kind of like cool big events. I was playing golf with Len Matisse. Len almost won the Masters. And
I
Mike Ward
remember.
beat him in the
Yeah.
playoff. And at TPC Sawgrass, and we were doing a thing for the first tee in North Florida. It was kind of an event thing. So I was like, all right, well, this is on this date in April. So now that I had kind of like a landmark, and I kind of built out around there. So I know I'm going to be in Florida this day, and so the schedule kind of builds out based upon where people wanted to play golf with me, and the courses I'm interested in playing. If there's one that I'm like, I got to see this. So I kind of put these things on, and it really starts to build out that way. And then I mean, I always tried to stay like a week out, like have a week of tee times that are there. But inevitably, you're playing on a Tuesday, something happens on a Thursday. Next thing you know, the two clubs that you had, you're not playing there anymore. Somebody had something come up, and so you got to scramble. You got to find another thing on. It was constantly evolving for me. As it was much more flexible. Like I know when Tom did something similar, not quite as aggressive as this Tom Coyne, he had it much more planned out, dialed in with dates and stuff. I was a little more freewheeling because I wanted the ability to chase an adventure, to be like to say yes to everything, versus just a handful of no's. I never knew what those were some of the coolest things where I'd show up and somebody'd be like, "Oh, you heard of this course?" And like I hadn't, which always pissed me off. And so I would be like, "We got to go." And so those were some of the most fun sort of let's go play. What's the one up at the top of Highland Links? Yeah, I was playing Cape Cod, and I remember the director of golf. Have you ever heard of Highland Links? And I was like, no, I've never heard of Highland Links. He's like, it's on the very end. It's up North Truro. It's like the only links course in America that's not abandoned dunes or something. And we ended up playing up there with these loud New Yorkers. I mean, it was like this guy was super loud. It was more like New Jersey, and he had this wife that was just equally as loud. It was a gorgeous little course. There's a little lighthouse out there, but it was linksy. It was true links, man. Sand base, right by the sea, and I was just like, never heard of it. The stuff like that doesn't happen if I'm like
Is
that.
that up by, you said at the end, is it up by Provincetown or is it down by Chatham?
No, it's all the way up at Truro. North Truro, I think, is the end of Cape Cod there.
What is your thing at each course or club? My friend Rich Levine has to take a shower at every course he goes to.
Uh,
I
yeah.
collect logo balls. A lot of people like to try whatever the club's known for. Southern Hills has a great granola bar at the turn. You know, Congressional has almond pie. Olympic Club has the burger duck. What is your thing at each course, or do you have one?
I have them all. I like to do them all. If there's a food, I got to try it, right? If there's anything unique about that club, I want to experience it. When it comes to like the things that you take with you, whether it be a logo ball, I don't do the logo balls because I see your logo balls behind you there, and we're talking that's maybe 100.
It's 200. My dad made me that rack for Christmas last year, and it
See,
holds
that's great.
200.
That's great.
But I mean, it doesn't hold them all. I've got others throughout the office.
Yeah. So you're starting to run into the problem of your ball. I mean, it would be a cool thing if I want to do like a whole basement, just cover it in golf balls. Such a massive space taker. So I've kind of shied away from that. I've got this is my chalice of ball marks right here. Oh God, it's getting pretty heavy. It's actually, there's about
That's impressive.
there's at least 1,500 in there. You can't really see, but that's all filled, with there's like a big handful of just marks. And I'll go through
He's
there.
like Scrooge McDuck.
It's got all my stuff. So I'll just I'll be on a call or something. I'll grab a handful and look at them. We can pull one out here and see what we see. What do we got here? The ranch is just down the street, but we got Oakmont.
I love that place.
Oakmont. Here's Rooster Run Golf Club. That's a one up in it's a community up in Marin County, just north. Pebble Beach. Some good ones. See if you guys know what this one is. You guys know what that one is?
I can't see it on my. Hold it higher.
Looks like a witch, potentially.
Yeah. It's old Salem Country Club, so it's like, anyways, and then there's stories that are associated with all these different things. And it's just kind of like, I could do that. It could be the entire podcast.
That's great.
Pull one out and I tell the story or what that makes me think of. It's great fun. I think that's why we do take these things with us, because it is a cool and fun memory of a person. Maybe it's a round of golf. Who knows what it could be? Each one is a little bit different, and that's what's fun about the sport and adventure like this.
Well, let's talk about one of your adventures on your first tour. You came to Southern Hills Country Club in March, and Nick Sidorkis is a friend of the program, has been on the podcast. Nick's actually a huge proponent of the First Tee program. He's no longer at Southern Hills after being there for 30 plus years. He's actually revamping the municipal courses here in Tulsa, which is a real blessing to our community. But you get there, I think it's 2018, if I'm not mistaken, to Southern Hills, and Nick's like, we got to get TV cameras here. This is early on in your tour. Was that something that you were just like pumped for, or a little bit nervous? Like what,
Both.
I think a couple months in.
Because this is a couple months in, and I'm kind of like, what the hell am I doing? I'm much more like when I did it the second time around. Because there's two tours. There's the first tour where I'm just like, I'm going to see what lies in wait for me in golf, and so I'm kind of going, and it's freezing cold. We're out there in Oklahoma, and I'm kind of figuring out living in an RV, and there's a little bit of like, what am I doing going on? Looking back, and then he comes out to me on the ninth hole, and I don't know, maybe I thought I was in trouble or something. Like I can't have my RV parked in there because it's a nice place, and I got this the first one was a little more Cousin Eddie looking than the second one. Both of them ended up in that parking lot. I was able to come back, but no, I quickly realized that he's just excited, and he's like, "This is cool what you're doing, man." He was like really stoked on it. He's an important guy, the general manager of Southern Hills. Institution of a place. It was March, and it wasn't, they didn't have a member guest or anything going on. His hands weren't full. He's like, we're going to get the news out here. And I was like, oh man, it's cool. I was on the news for the kickoff, so I was like, I knew how to like go on a news program and play it cool. And so I'm not really nervous about doing it. I'm more excited that like, hey, this is a reaction from a golf club that kind of justifies my effort. Yeah. And that podcast was, or not podcast, but that news thing, you can still, I think, find it. It's somewhere on the news site. But it was like, I remember I was talking to the guy about how I sent like I invited Motley Crue to play with me or something just ridiculous, and they put a little clip of Motley Crue in the news thing. But he explained to me that it's like if it's less than like a second and a half, they don't have to like get the permission of Motley Crue. So it was like this real quick thing of Vince Neil playing, doing Live Wire or something. Anyway, it just cracked me up. I remember the guy's name was Jonathan, the guy that did the reporter. And it was a great piece. I love that thing, just kind of me. And I'm at the end, I'm hitting balls off the top of the RV down the first fairway at Southern Hills. I mean, how lucky is that? And that's cool.
That's cool.
So it was, but a fun thing that I so then I do that whole thing, and the book goes on. But I come back and I play a round of golf at Southern Hills on my world record setting tour, and it was the same day. The year's like March, let's say it was 16th or something like that. And I took a picture of, there's a big clock tower over by the range there at Southern Hills. I
Hmm.
took a picture of it because it's kind of a cool angle. It's like, that's like the ninth green or something like that. I don't know exactly. And I'm like, that's a cool photo. And then I posted on my Instagram. So then I'm walking back, what was it, 6 years? No, yeah, no, 5 years later. There's 5 years in between tours. So I'm walking back 5 years later, and I see the same picture, and I take it. Afterwards, after the round, I realized not only was it the same day, it was like the exact same time that I was
Wow.
there. 5 years apart. It was like 10:10 or something like that. I'm like, this is unbelievable that these are like the same time. And it was kind of a good moment of reflection. It was like, well, how has my life changed since that kind of initial jumping off into where I'm at now? It was dramatic. The second time around, I had a much more fancy bus, and I was setting a world record, and I had kind of all these things in my life had changed. Personally, I was in a better position, with my relationship. But it was kind of like this. It was a cool moment. There's a lot of moments like that, when you do something that is such a diversion, and you get a moment of gratitude and looking back. I think that was those moments were plenty and really cool when I would get them on the tour.
That's great. And I mean, you brought it up, and it's on my list to ask you about. I mean, on this first tour, you experienced an unbelievable loss. It was gut wrenching reading what you're very vulnerable to put it out there in your book, and ended up having a long talk with my wife about it actually. But you go through this unimaginable personal loss in the midst of this tour, and then there's your first round back, and you're just powering along, and then you hit a shank after like 7 pars, and all the emotion comes out. And I was just sitting there, I'm feeling that emotion that you're writing. I mean, how much did it really cross your mind to just, I got to quit playing golf here, and I need to
It
go
was.
back.
It was. So there was, it's kind of hard to put all that stuff into like my decision making process. And that, looking back at that, was such a profound moment in my life. It was fun to write those, and it was fun to be vulnerable. So I'm glad that I inspired a conversation with your wife there, and like, I feel
So
like that.
please don't divorce me on my next golf trip. That's what I told
Yeah,
her.
yeah, we're just guys that want to play golf. Don't make us lose our minds over it. But so that happened. I'm sorry. Go back to the question again. I kind of lost track.
I mean, was there a real moment when this is going on that you thought, okay, I gotta abandon
Yeah,
what I'm working on here?
yeah, yeah. So 100%. That was my first reaction when I get this sort of cryptic conversation with my ex-wife, or wife at the time. I was like, "What's going on?" She was very kind of evasive. It was like the person I knew had left the building all of a sudden. This was a different person. They were like moved on or whatever it was, and it was kind of like a rug being ripped out. And the first thing I wanted to do was I was like, I'm just going to quit this and come home. But she assured me that she wasn't going to be there. If I was, she was going to be in the islands. It's like our relationship is 100% overcome, because she kind of was on this thing where she wanted me to do what I was doing. She knew this was so important to me. And so there was like this, you can't do anything about this sort of position that I was in. My first instinct was undoubtedly, this is stupid. Like, I'm playing golf, like in I'm losing my marriage. 100% was my first thing, but then it was like, I don't think I can do anything about this. I mean, she's assured me that that would be a waste of time and pretty bad. So I was like, ugh. Fuck. So I was really stuck in this position where I didn't know what to do, didn't know all the circumstances of the situation, just lying awake, feeling foolish, and I'm just like, it was just like a time bomb. And that shank was really, looking back, it was like this kind of this glorious moment, because I still think about it. It's funny because if you would have seen the reaction, was like, it was violent. And it was like, and just imagining somebody watching me shank this ball after I played like 6 holes of perfect golf. So I'm kind of like in this twilight zone. I didn't sleep the night before, and I hit this, and I'm just kind of going along, just kind of shell shocked of like what's going on. Really, just in a daze. Because if you haven't slept it was after 36 holes, and if you haven't slept for a day, you kind of just get zombie mode. Even if your life is going as planned, you're still zombie. And I was like super zombie, and that shank just was like, I need to do something, and. Yeah, so the shank went over, and then I went to the cart. And I just punched the shit out of that thing, and then broke down crying. And the image of somebody watching that all this unfold and be like, this guy really hates the shanks. Like just thinking that nothing else was going on. I was just reacting to the golf shot alone was so funny to me that I just started laughing hysterically. And so it was like this weird mixture, and like it was like just a crazy roller coaster that I like had no control over. But so I was like, I did the only thing I knew how to do at that moment was just like throw down a ball and hit another one. I didn't bother to go find that shank. I was like, that's the end of that. Symbolic in a way, and then picked up with my other ball and just kind of went into the green and just kind of took it as they came. And then eventually I would learn more. At that point, I was clueless as to what was the future of my marriage was. Didn't take me long to figure out that I was headed to divorce town, and that was in the moment. That was like all consuming and brutal. Looking back now, I'm like, hell yeah. It's lucky to have found Rachel because of all this, and so now we're living in this beautiful house in Laguna Beach, and we got a gorgeous 7-month-old kid that's is the love of my life in addition to Rachel. I'm like, no, so it's like. Looking back, I was a different place, and it seemed all consuming, but it was really just the beginning of a different path, for myself and my ex-wife. She kind of dropped off the map very much, not a technology gal anymore. So I hope obviously I hope things panned out for her in her direction as well. And it was a hard kind of that was the fork in the road. And, anybody that's going through it, like you can really, things can get better, in that moment. They feel like it's over. And then it could be better pretty quickly. It got better. I was fortunate because I got to play golf like every day, but I can only imagine if I was stuck in like a situation where I'm like watching her and this other dude or whatever the hell was going on. That would have been real brutal, but I got to play golf. I got to go, that next day. I don't remember where I played exactly, but it's it's in the list there. You can dig up all my records and stuff. But it was every day, and so it took my mind off of it, and B, it was like very supportive. Like there's the human kinship, and it was really mutual friend Ashley and Jeff. I was like very soon after that. Virginia, I made myself up to New York, and I told them about the whole thing, and they were just like, just good friends. It was like kind of like friends are what will get me through this. Oh yeah, and they were just, it was so cool. They, even talking about just the idea of dating somebody else kind of was, take it off as well. And so I kind of like switched into a different mindset with the help of Ashley and Jeff, and I think I mentioned that in the book about how the healing power of friends and outdoor breathing fresh air and hitting a golf ball around a field is pretty tremendous.
How do you stay into the golf? I had a month last year where I played like 32 different courses in a month across 5 states and 2 countries. And I started to feel like someone who really liked sex, then got a job in porn and was like, oh, not that any of those shoots would last over 3 hours. How do you continue to like give a shit? Like I found myself in some of these rounds where, I'd hit a terrible shot and be like, fuck it. I'm going to play again tomorrow. I'm going to hit more. But it's hard to kind of, for me at least, to laser in and really give a shit for 3.5 hours. I mean, how do you do that over 500 some rounds?
I think that's part where I'm a little sick in the head, as you mentioned in the intro. There's definitely a little something wrong with me, and we talk. Alcoholism is in the book as well. It's a big part of who I am. So there's like this obsessive alcoholic gene in me that's like, it's like this. I like to think it's kind of just this laser focus, and it's kind of a wild thing, And if you point it in the right direction, you can set a world record. If you point it in the wrong direction, you kill yourself. So it's kind of like a dangerous personality to have. And fortunately, I obsess over these golf courses. I love them so much. It's my favorite place in the world to be, is on a golf course. That being said, it's still every day. There's sometimes where you wake up, it's raining, and you're like, this is not the greatest. But what it was is that it was like, the next day I'm playing Somerset Hills. You're just like, this is an unbelievable golf course. And then it was also I'm playing with somebody that's excited to be there with me. Like maybe they waited 2 months to like be a part of this record. And like you immediately get in there, you're like, this is awesome. And it's hard. It's hard to really be like, oh, I'm not down for this because everybody else is, and I'm like leading this thing. And then like, you kind of feel like you're doing something. You feel like you're part of a bigger cause, even though it's just me going around playing golf. There was thousands of other people involved in this, and they're very much a part of that record. The record's not even that important. It's the experience and like the being a part of something that was really the cool thing, and that kept me going. It really lifted me up and I didn't need much, But like anytime I was like, nah, somebody else was like, yeah, dude, and I was like, oh yeah, let's go. It was just. And I tell you, I didn't have one bad day on that tour. That's bananas. Usually you have a crappy day, once here and there. Nope, couldn't even muster it.
So, Rob, not only did he give a shit, he kept score in every round, and every score is recorded in the book. 180 courses played, 1,011 pars, 103 birdies. I mean, he has it all mapped out. You go to all the courses. I looked up March 14th, Southern Hills, you shot 87. But then you turned around at Golf Club of Oklahoma, which is not an easy course, and shoot 77. So, I mean, you had some great rounds. I mean, you played great golf for 580 rounds.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if you kept the handicap through that, but it had to be close to scratch or better.
It was, yeah. It was plus like a 0.2 or something like that at one point. And I didn't put the handicap stuff in there. I wasn't like entering them into the thing, but because I was doing it all through Golf Gamebook, which was the app and my sponsor for the second time around. And so they kind of kept track of all the stats for me. Super, super easy and fun to do. So I had like, you can do like number of fairways missed to the left, which, I don't know what's that going to really tell me. I mean, I know I miss it equally left and right. But you mentioned, kind of the ups and downs. There was one that was particularly jarring. The 87 was like one of my highest rounds for a while at Southern Hills. I remember it was like freezing cold, and like my back was like, I was like, I can kind of tell my back. It's not. I'm not a 19-year-old spine back there, so I kind of know it's like it's cold. And it's a little like right on the border of like, I don't know, tweak it a little bit. So I was nursing. I was like just very careful because it's still early, and I was like, I don't want to be limping around for the next 9 months.
Yeah.
Back with
Southern will just hop up and get you anytime though. I mean, I shot 91 there last Tuesday, so it's difficult.
Yeah, it's a tough course. I mean, if there's going to be one where you have a round on there, I make excuses, but like I didn't play that well that day. But the worst day I had was I got into the 90s. I shot a 91, and it was the only time I kind of was like. And Rob, you mentioned this. I'm always positive. This is the only day where I was like. I remember I apologized to the guy. I was like, sorry, man. I just, I wasn't what I wanted to be. Now, I don't know if I don't know if it was that bad, but it wasn't it wasn't acceptable for me. And it went up that morning, shot 91, and like, it was all right. Nobody got hurt. There was no incident, but I was just kind of like, I was just being kind of just a dickhead. I was just kind of like grumping about all these shots. I'm like, oh, these penalty shots. I'm just looking for, we've all been there. And then I remember I got in after that round, and I was like, that made me feel good, 91, and it's like it got worse because I just kind of gave up and slapped around, and I had a little mental talk with myself. It's like, it's not going to happen again. Don't be that guy. Just don't do it ever. You don't owe that to anybody. Like, no,
There's
not you. Ironically, I went out and shot, I think, a 72 in the afternoon. Had a great time. Sun came out, got some great photos. I was like, I didn't know it's supposed to work this fast. You know, so I went from like 72 to 91 in a single day. I think it was 72 or 73. It's in there. It was at it's like a French place in Georgia, Chateau something. I don't know. So that was my biggest sort of flip flop in any given day. That's golf.
I've adapted a Maya Angelou quote to golf that took me a while to learn. And she famously said, nobody will remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Mm,
And my adaptation to golf is nobody gives a shit what you shot, but they'll remember how you behaved and how you made them feel,
yeah,
essentially.
that's true.
And, I've gone out there like you. I mean, I've shot 68, nobody gave a shit.
Yeah.
And I've gone out there and shot 85 and nobody gave a shit but me. And once you realize that everybody is entirely focused on what they're doing, and all that you matter to the round is that you play fast and you're not an asshole and you're generally enjoyable to be around. I mean, that's all that matters. And I think, especially, I see, I've got buddies of mine that one's a +2 or a +3 and just has the worst, just a toxic golf
Mm,
attitude. I mean,
mm,
absolutely toxic. And then I see people, and you can kind of give them a little bit of a pass because he used to be a pro, he's played competitively. And then I see people that are like a 15 handicap who are married with 3 kids and maybe only get out, once a month, throwing clubs and getting upset. And you're like, dude, this is your free time. This is
Mm-hmm.
this is like the happy place. What's going on here? Like, how do you focus on, obviously you have a good positive attitude for yourself, but I think part of being a great person to play with is lifting up the people around you. Do you pay much attention to the rest of the group's experience and how you can make the day interesting? Because a lot of the people you play with are looking forward to playing with you.
I do. I want it to be fun, and I take that as like as a personal responsibility. It's gonna be fun, man. Like, especially when I was on this tour, I was like, I had this kind of cool gift that I got to give to people, especially if they didn't know that they were going to be in a world record. It was really fun, and I wanted everybody to really feel like a part of that and have it be a special round. And when you take on that as like a responsibility, I'm not responsible for birdie making 3 birdies out here, but I'm responsible to make sure that Steve remembers this round and talks about it with his buddies. So that's kind of like my goal is to be memorable and to give these people a real gift. And that's just kind of so how do you go about doing that? And first is you play games, you have fun. For me. And everybody's a little bit different. Some people really love a good competition. And we have plenty of those on the tour. So you got to read the room, see what sort of people these guys are, what they're going to get into. Some people are just going to be kind of playing. You can't do much with. But some people like they want to go. They're like, I'm a scratch, you're a scratch. Let's have a match, and that's fun for them. But for most people, it was like. For me, I just like to have fun, So we're telling stories, we're hitting shots, not taking ourselves too seriously. I did have to hole out and play by the rules, so I had to kind of like tap in. A lot of people, I was like, they tried to slap it back to me, and I had to go back up there and knock in the 1-footer or whatever it was. But that's kind of just be the person you want to be around. I guarantee you, I mean, there was not a crummy round except for that one that was like not up to my standards. And I think that was because I came up there with an attitude. It's going to be awesome. And there's only so much that you can control about people. There was this was a funny thing. I had the Jabroni Award, and there's a couple in there. We read there's the stories about like people that are just out of line. It was like I said it was uncalled for. Yeah, there's no place for that. Really kind of take the the high route, and these guys were like, there was not many. I think there was like 5 people that got the Jabroni Award, and you really had to suck to like impose your shitty outlook on that tour because it was all joy. It was good times. The good times were rolling, and like sometimes people are coming with a hard, aggressive attitude that comes from I don't know where it is. It's not it didn't come from me, from their family or other things going on. But there was a couple. The story about the one in what's the place in it's got the blue and the gold course out there, and in Phoenix. You see some of these courses, you start to lose the name of the. I can tell you it's in Goodyear, Arizona. It's a long one. I'll get into it. I'll tell the story, but it was. So we're playing. There's like 3 stories from this. Is one of my favorite chapters to write. And so I show up with this guy. There's 27 holes, or there's no, there's 3 courses there. So there's 50, not 27. There's 3 different courses. It's like February, and he's hell bent, and it's like we're gonna play we're going to get 3 in. This is the first time I did 3 courses in a single day. First day, we're out there. We walked all 3 of them. We walked the first 2, and we get around all good. Second round is like it's all backed up, and it's probably took us like 5.5 maybe hours to play the second round. But we're on the second or third hole, just sitting there waiting, and this guy comes up, and immediately we feel his energy is not good, like whatever he's coming. And you kind of do that on the golf course. It seems even more apparent. Like if you have a real good vibe going, we had a great group of guys, and he comes up and he tells us I've got to move my RV. And I was like, oh, what? What's going on? And he's like, we're worried about, you just can't be there. He's like, there's too many, we could potentially have some more golfers show up, and we'd need those spots. I mean, that seems a little weird because it was very empty when I parked in the far end of the lot. I was always very conscious of other golfers and this big thing. It takes up like 4 spots. And I was like, well, I'm just setting this world record. I got to play all these holes. And I can't, if I don't play all 18, I can't count it towards the world record. So I'm explaining to him. He's very disinterested. He's like, I'm just doing what the man says. And I was like, oh man, this is the director of golf and the people I'm with know the director of golf. They're like, oh, that guy's a dickhead. He's just doing it, just like be a dick. He just likes to flex his muscle, blah, blah, blah. So I'm here, and I'm like, just, all right, let's go. And so on the way over there, it's like an icy vibe. Happy about like potentially having to skip this hole and like not count this thing. Anyway, so we get over there. We show up in the parking lot, and there's no reason for me to move this thing. There's like 50 spots for this RV to exist. And I'm like, where do you want me to move it? And he's like, put it over there in the church parking lot. So I go over, I move it over to the church parking lot, get back in this thing. He drives me back out to like the second hole. We're still waiting there. So anyway, so we're like, whatever. So we take a little bit to ignore that. And then we go and play the back 9, or not the back 9. It's like the third course. And I look at my buddy, and I'm like, there's like an hour and a half of daylight left, and we're like, we try, it's not gonna happen. And he's like, oh, let's do it. And I'm like, and he kind of got this look in his eye, and I was like, oh, let's do it. And so we went from like just a crawl to like guns blazing. We're like, it was like a just kind of, you're skipping. We're not really running, but we're like, they were like, just all of a sudden it was like somebody shot a gun in the air, and we were just like, yeah, and so we're going off, and we play like the first 6 or 7 holes, maybe 9 holes, or I don't know exactly what it was, but like record pace, just blazing. We're like, oh, dude, we're gonna play in an hour and a half, no problem. And then we run into like the wall of the Saturday afternoon golfers, and we're like, oh, not gonna happen. And my guy's like, don't worry about it, I got this. I'm like, what's he gonna do? Like, so he goes over there and apparently gives him the spiel. Because when I get on the next tee box, all the dudes are like giving me the wave, like you're, rounding third going home. And so I hit my drive, high five. They just let me play through. This happened like 4 groups in a row. He was just up there like telling people about what I was doing. You gotta let him go. You gotta. So we blow through and finish. And we finished 3 courses. Cool. It was a cool moment. He's kind of like my little hype man. So anyways, we're all stoked about that. I go back out to the parking lot, and it's empty. The golf parking lot's still empty, and the church parking lot is filled with all these I mean, it's just like overflowing. They're parking in the golf course, but my RV is right next to the thing. I'm like, oh Jesus, dude! They're like, what are we doing? And so I go over, and there, all these old ladies are like, and they were like old sweet ladies, but they're pissed at me, and you can tell they're like shaking, visibly, like their younger Karen is coming out, and I was like, ladies, I'm so sorry. Like, I really apologize. Did not know that you guys were going to have a sunset service, and but they're like, they wanted some justice for this. I made all these handicapped people walk to it was horrible. I was like, God, I feel so bad, and I was like, you know what? If you want to file a complaint or something, I had saw the director of golf's business card in my pocket because the guy gave it to me. I was like, you should talk to this man. He was the one who made me park here. And so I kind of handed him the business card. I don't know what they did. If it was vigilante justice later on that evening. But I like to think those sweet old ladies, took the high road and didn't lodge a complaint. But they were definitely in the mood for a good telling off, and rightly so. So
That's great.
that was just one day on the tour. This is one day. It was just 3 courses out of 580.
I was just thinking about our round at Tree Farm, and that was the first time I met Love Goal and Nick DiVaccarini,
Yeah.
the Bay Area guys. In fact, we have a text thread to this day called Only Dems in South Carolina from that trip, and I've since played with them in San Francisco, Palm Springs, Nebraska. So it spurred a friendship. And I'm going to tell a brief story about Nick. We were out in Palm Springs earlier this year, and I've become basically numb to talking politics on the golf course. And Nick and I agree on politics, but his buddy who was hosting us at Stone Eagle, man, this son of a bitch just managed to get under my skin. And I pride myself on being a good guest. I really do. And a lot of times I'll just, I'll take it on the chin. I'll be a good sport. But this motherfucker, I mean, he, first of all, we're on the same team. And every time I'd hit a good shot or make a putt, no acknowledgement. Fine, not a big deal. What is a big deal is if I missed a putt or I hit a bad shot, he'd let me have it. I just met this guy.
Yeah.
So that's strike one.
That's it. Yeah. Okay.
Strike two, throughout the round, every time he'd hit a bad shot, he would scream the 3-letter F word. Fag, I'll say it. I can say it. I'm allowed to. So he would be like, oh, fag, yes, fag this, fag that. And finally, he said it one time so loud, I just looked at him and said, man, I wouldn't flatter yourself. And he didn't get it. He didn't catch what I was saying. And then, we sort of get to the end of the round. And at this point, I'm openly just talking about my boyfriend. I'm doing everything I can to let this guy know what a piece of shit he is. We get up to the terrace there, and it's probably one of the most beautiful views of Palm Springs and Palm Desert at Stone Eagle.
It's awesome up there, yeah.
And Nick thinks we're just playing around. So he gets up to use the bathroom and he comes back. And at this point, now the guy has leaned in on my career. Lobbyists are destroying the country. You guys hate America. You're the worst thing that's ever happened. He's just digging in. Yeah. Finally, Nick comes back to the table and he's like, dude, what's wrong? And I'm like, I'm going to kill your fucking friend. I was like, I'm going to rip his face off and wear it through downtown Palm Springs. And this guy is about to die. And Nick's just like, oh my God, what's going on here? What's going on here? And I only say this to you play enough rounds of golf with people. How do you remain a good guest at all times? Because I pride myself in it. I really do. But there's always that one motherfucker who's got the ability to just get under your skin. And man, this guy did it. I mean, he hit all the right notes.
That's true. And usually that sounds like a pretty egregious situation, but you're right. There's usually a couple things that you can do this or do that, and it kind of that zing of that wasn't the right thing to say in that particular thing. And then I just kind of, whenever it kind of happens, I'll go ahead to the next hole and just chill out. or like I just walk away. I'll like and just kind of take some time on my own for a little bit, and then come back with a positive thing. Just change the vibe. Which I would tell you, this is an interesting story because I had a similar situation that had been redeemed on my world record tour. So I was playing Cuskawilla, I think before my initial tour, and playing with this group of guys. It's in the South, and the conversation turns to politics in a sense. And then usually I just kind of skirt the edge, get a sense for what other people are, and then join in or not. So I don't really, there's not a ton of value to be had there. But it was, a topic around the edge was I played behind Barack Obama when he was an active president. And so it's interesting. People are mostly like, well, what's the Secret Service like? What's that like when you're, and it's like they're wand in the bag or whatever. So I mentioned that, and it kind of, guy had some questions or whatever, but it like lit a racist fire under these three guys that I was playing with, because after that, like for some reason, the N-word was just like now on the table for everybody to say, and everybody was like, they miss a putt and it would be N-word putt. I was like, guys. I was blown away because I did not expect it coming. I was just like, man, these people are like full on like racist. Like, how could you? I just didn't understand it. I was really caught off guard, and I didn't know what to do. And so, fortunately, I almost left. I was like, I'm just gonna like leave. There was like 5 holes left because I was very uncomfortable all of a sudden. I was like, this is bad. I can't deal with this. That kind of scared me more than anything. I didn't want to get confrontational with it. I just wanted to get out of there. And I think that's kind of my response to, through my life, I've run into people that are clearly, they're nowhere on your level. There's no, like, maybe we'll find common ground. There's people that just suck. And my experience is that just cut them out of your life as fast as you can and go on and be like, that's not for me. Because there's so many, like, where are you going to put your energy? You only get so many days on this earth. Don't spend them with those people. Don't give them your energy. If you can, and I've left some lawsuits on the table, or some frustrations unavenged because of that decision. And looking back, I'm like, that was the right call. The right call was just to say, yeah, I'm done, man. Like, take your whatever it is. I'm going to go over here with these people that I care about, and I'm going to give them my positive energy. You can't always do that. Sometimes you're in a situation where you're like, no, we got to sue this guy, or whatever it is. So that's kind of a little bit of wisdom that I've gained over the years. But you can't also let people walk all over you. It's important to stand up for yourself. So where that line is tough. And applaud you for getting into this, dude. But
well, I've had a couple times where I've just left after 9 and just was very nice and friendly. And I struggle with it. I mean, look, you're usually playing with 3 other men. You tend to run into a lot of like macho guys, like trying to outdo each other. And so, usually when I'm in a group, I'm typically the only gay guy in the group. And so if they don't know that, like if you're not famous, a lot of times like they're unaware of your situation, so if they ask you a specific question, I'll answer it, but otherwise I just don't talk about it unless they say, are you married, or are you this, that, or the other. But like I do run into that somewhat frequently. And if usually 9 times out of 10 I'll brush it off and be like, oh well, this guy's not worth getting to know any more than we have. But there are other times where you're tired, you've been traveling, and it just kind of digs. And finally, you're just like, all right, peace, I got to go. But this one time at Stone Eagle, I literally was ready to rip the motherfucker's face off. Nick had to like, almost break it up. It was bad.
Well, let me bring this up. During your first tour, Patrick, your parents lost everything in the Paradise, California wildfires, one of the worst wildfire disasters in our nation's history. And what you highlight in the book is that there was this overwhelming generosity from strangers in so many different instances, so many different moments. And so in a moment where we're talking about bad situations that we've had, and in a moment where our politics is probably more divided than ever, did what you witnessed during the Paradise fires in the recovery from that, did what you witnessed there bring you maybe some hope that even though we're so divided politically, maybe we can move past it a little bit and work for the good of all people in our country?
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up, because that really is a moment that is very much like that. Because when it first happens, and you understand the negligence of PG&E and all these things that you're mad about, you're pissed. The companies, the insurance companies, what they did to me. I could have went on and on. I started writing some of this, and it was just like your blood just starts kind of boiling. I'm like, well, I'm not. This book is, and this whole thing is not about letting the insurance companies have it. I'm not going to, sway anybody, or letting PG&E, they're too big for them. Like that's a foolish errand. I can complain about it, and instead I was like, what is actually the coolest part about this situation was the way that the humans came together. And I mean, from one of the so this fire happens, and my parents don't know what happens to their home. They're assuming it's lost, like everybody else is. They come back, and they the first thing they see is just nothing where their home used to be. Incredibly horrifying moment. And the fire department had this metal sign that they've had for some time in my mother's garden, and it says "Love is all you need." And the firefighters took the time to take that out of her garden and put it on the front of the driveway, the fence, so that was what my parents would see when they first saw their home. And it's kind of like a message from the people that were there before. That my mom will talk about that. She'll tear up every single time she talks about that. And I was like, that's what this was. It kind of stripped away all the stuff and all the horrible, evil things in the world. And it's like when people get down to it, that's where they go. Is to a place of love. And so then it inspired me to dig deeper in that. And what I found was like, I mean, that list, I don't know what is, I couldn't read it back to you at this point, but I know that some of those things in there were incredibly moving. From the little girl giving her doll to somebody else, to another kid that, didn't have one. Like stuff that just
the volleyball uniforms for the Paradise players.
And it was like we had to truncate some of the stuff because people were just like, whatever I can do, I understand this. And that was incredible. And that mixture with the tour, it revived my faith in the human spirit. It really did it. And because when you're playing golf with people, you get the best of them too. They come out in a great day. They're donating money to junior golf. I raised money for the First Tee and a bunch of other junior golf organizations. And it was just, it changed the way, because it's easy to like get on social media, and the stuff that gets clicked is usually crap, and the stuff the news picks is all negative. And before you know it, you're like pissed off at everybody, and it's easy to get that way. And I see why it is. And for the most of those 2 years I spent on the road, I was away from screens. I was looking at people in the face on their good days, and I was watching them donate. And I was like, it really changed my. I mean, there's two sides to all people, and more than two, But became very obvious that this is the more powerful aspect of humanity, and the more compelling one. So that's why I chose to put that stuff in the book. And
I love that.
I mean, if you do that list, you'll be like,
yeah, no. I want to read a quote from the book and kind of talk about the golf influencer world real quick. You write that we too often confuse our online worth with our actual worth, especially when we spend all day behind a glowing screen. Yet you are a golf influencer, and who runs with golf influencers, and maybe to help you sell books to some of our more degenerate listeners, you have two different sections about Paige Sporanic in this book.
I do.
We just won't tell them that. Hey, we won't tell them there's no pictures of Paige, but there's two great stories. But
this part's not for me.
Stories are good, man. Oh.
You are part of this golf influencer world. You, Tom Coyne, Jimmy James. I mean, some incredible people that have opened up doors. So you've used social media, even though there's a lot of negativity that can come from social media. You've used it positively And how do you think moving forward the golf influencer community will affect the game? Will more people care about the things that you're doing on an RGV tour or somebody chasing the top 100 and documenting it online? Will they care more about that than who wins on Sunday at the PGA Tour or Live? Or
Yeah, that's a good question. It kind of remains to be seen. I think we see some, signs of the apocalypse, depending on what you think that might be. But the game is definitely shifting to, there's a lot of interest. And, I don't know if it's necessarily healthy for us. Everybody just saw the recent internet invitational and the just the staggering numbers they did from an audience perspective.
Staggering.
I mean, it really is. If you look at what kids are watching these days, I mean, got two step kiddos in the house that are of influential age of 11 and 13, and like YouTube is their thing. They're not watching TV or watching the stuff. It's like if you're a YouTube star, like you're a movie star to a lot of these kids. It's a different world, and that online persona can be, you start to see it. It's challenging to manage for anybody. I mean, I'm a 45-year-old man with, I think, a reasonable head on my shoulders that makes a concerted effort to like divide. I know I have an addictive behavior and a personality, and so I'm like, how do I make sure that this doesn't get the best of me? Incredibly challenging to do, especially when my work is in that space, and I feel like at times I'm good with it, and at times I'm necessarily not. This tour was a great way of the way that I think social media can be used to really benefit people is by bringing them together. So I got to meet all these people because of social media, and we didn't just converse online. We got together and said, hey, let's play golf. And then you're doing all these things, not with, without a screen. And so it's a great way to bring people together for a similar cause and unite with similar interests. And, I've got a lot of, real friends in real life that were because of Instagram. So there's some incredible and change. I mean, Instagram really did, without this Instagram following that I've done, I don't think these tours happen, and who knows what I'm doing. So I owe my life, the current life to social media. So you can't discount that, but you also have to be very, very conscious of the dangers of the platform. Because I'll sit and I'll start scrolling, and like I'm doing amazing stuff with my life, objectively speaking. And if I go in there and I didn't get invited to the internet invitational. And so I'm gonna get like all poo poo and like get it bummed out because I didn't get to do that. Absolutely not. Like I was going and playing Oakmont or whatever. I was had a chance to photograph Farm Net Golf Club. These things are amazing. I'm getting paid to take pictures of golf courses as a golf course photographer, and I'm bummed about not getting an opportunity here or there. And I've got an inbox full of cool stuff to do. So it's kind of like, what's the comparison is the thief of joy. Yeah. There's a quote along those lines, but it's entirely true. And especially when you start comparing yourself to every other person in the world who's got it the very best, you're always gonna fail. And people think that Paige has got it easy, and it's this amazing thing. She's got all these followers, and she goes to golf tournaments and does all this stuff. You get a little bit insight into it, and it's like, it's not the easiest path.
Well, let me tell you, I do not have a following at all. I hardly ever get on Twitter. I use it for work. I'm in politics. I'm checking out what other people are saying on Twitter. But hate to break to you guys, I'm on hole-in-one number 4. I know both you guys are still chasing them, but I had one a couple weeks ago at Southern Hills, 4-iron and number 6, 216 yards.
That was subtle. That was you really put the B in subtle in.
I know. I didn't even try to be. I wasn't even trying to be subtle. I wasn't even trying to be. But I'm playing with my about to be 19-year-old son who's adopted from Ethiopia. It was an unbelievable, joyous moment for me and my son to witness, to do that together. Mm. Put pictures on. He's obviously black and I'm white. And, I get no Twitter following. All of a sudden, hundreds of thousands of people see this post that I make about making hole 1 Southern Hills. And I can't tell, overwhelming, 95, 99% good, right? Yeah. But there were 5 comments of, who's the kid with blackface? Why do you let your son wear blackface? I think you might want to get a genetic test on your son. That kind of stuff that you see that, or there's no way you actually hit that. Like, and I'm just a nobody. Like, I can't imagine what Paige Spiranac gets. The gross comments, the vitriol
is real. It's it's interesting because I have been friends with her since she was an aspiring. I think the first time I played with her was at Pebble Beach, and she had 40,000 followers, which is a big deal back then, but it wasn't a lot compared to what she has now. And she was a sensitive gal about a lot of stuff, so this stuff kind of got to her. Not today, not quite as much as she was. She's put on a much thicker skin, but that'll do it to you, because I mean, some of the stuff, she's got stalkers. She's got to be careful of mentioning things on social media, because then these people will know where she's at. I'm just like, she was keying in her. We were doing something, and she had to key in her Apple ID. It was like a 200 character thing, because she's very, somebody's like trying to get in her phone to, hack her and do all this, who knows, all this stuff. And it's like, that's a different world. And the sort of negative stuff is, but the trick is to be like, focus on the 95, but it's
we do. I think that's a big thing. You got to focus on the 95. There's always going to be
brains are like wired to like pay attention to those 5 comments from these guys that like you shouldn't give the time of day to, and unfortunately they get the most. That's how the internet works. So that's really the principal problem with the internet, is the stuff that gets clicks and views.
Yeah, but good for guys like you who are putting great content out there. Your stuff is fun to watch. The pictures are amazing. Robert, what do you call your drone? Robert Trent drone?
Robert Trent drones.
We've fantastic.
We have Robert Trent drones, and then we had this was Rachel, my fiance, who doesn't play much golf, but she came up with Pete Fly, which we and then we have currently in action is Dronald Ross.
That's great.
We can stick with all the architects. Yeah.
So we're going to have Simon Holt on next week. And I don't know if you know Simon, but he runs Golf Magazine's Top 100 program and is involved with 8 a.m. Golf. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about lists. I know when we played, you were 1 or 2 shy of the top 100. 1, have you finished it? And 2, do you think lists are good for golf, or would you prefer people try to play the off the beaten path stuff?
Yeah, lists are good for golf. I'll go ahead and say that without a question. People are kind of focused that way a little bit, but it's not everything. I got to I'm at like 95 or 96, and then like I could go play some of these places. It's just a matter of like booking a plane ticket and going. But like then I just kind of like felt like my journey was kind of complete. I was kind of like, oh, it's not. This isn't it. You kind of do this thing and you get through the list and you're like, dude, it is the exploration. I feel like you have to really. Everybody says it's not about the destination; it's the journey. But I feel like in order for that to become a way of actually thinking and living your life, you kind of have to have an experience that really brings that out for you. And these tours were that. And so it is fun to set a goal and work towards it. I did the top 100 public, and so I put it out. When I first started doing this, is like, oh, we'll do this. This will be fun, and it's really cool. That's what the world record was about. It was kind of a framework or a tool to get out there and experience and have these experiences. The problem I think we run into sometimes when it becomes the only thing that matters, when you lose sight of what you're really doing. If you're just like, I'm just here to check a box, everybody knows that guy. And you're like, dude, I just felt like he was here to check a box. I've played with guys like that, and it's not, they kind of get dismissed, and you lose a little bit of the joy, and you miss out on the things you could experience. I like to check a box, but I'm by no means here to just check a box.
Well, what's left, even if it's not on any of the lists? It could be on the list, off the list. What are 5 courses in the United States you've not seen that you'd really like to see?
Yeah, it's funny because it's like I'll like I get a little course architecture news like once a month, and it's usually like the new stuff that really gets me. You're like, oh man, they built that. Look at that. That looks awesome. So I get really excited about new stuff. But no, there's still gems that I want to see. I've always had one course that if I get the invite, I'll stop whatever I'm doing and get a plane and like rearrange to do it. And in years past, that was, it's been Pine Valley or Cypress Point. And fortunately, I got the call and I got a chance to have those experiences. But now it's Peachtree. Peachtree is an interesting one. And some of the other ones that I'm excited. I just got a chance to Sabonic was one that was kind of eluded me. That's an interesting place. And then there's even, there's like an old one over, there's a George C. Thomas, like kind of east of LA. It's like Red Hills that like interest me. So it's some stuff I'm like, because there's not a lot of George C. Thomas courses. And, so I'm like, it's like weird things like that I'm like, I got to go see that place. So like, it's architects that will interest me. I've checked off a lot of like really cool American courses, having driven around the entire country. I don't know if there's anybody that's played more courses in America than me. I mean, just straight up.
That's incredible.
Just, all over the place. Played all 50 states.
Just between the two tours, you played over 1,000. Is that right?
Yeah, over 1,000. Some of them I played, twice. Was like Southern Hills. Of course, you'd want to play it twice. Some places you want to play twice in the same day, like Kingsley Club. That place is rad.
It is.
Yeah.
Have you played? Have you played Augusta yet?
I haven't played Augusta. So that one's I kind of look at it as like I've been to the Masters. I've brought my camera on a Wednesday and took some great photos of it, and I got to see the course, and like I played it in my mind. I know. I mean, this is the first time we went to the Masters. This I highly recommend that people do this. It was like a Saturday, and we get there like as soon as the gates open, right? And me and my buddy, like, first thing we're going to do, play the back nine. So we go out there and we tried to be like realistic. I'd stand the thing. It's like I pulled mine into the left rough. He's like, dude, I blasted mine like into the trees. And so we kind of like had this, and then we go up to and then I'm like, oh, dude, great recovery shot. I'm like in the bunker. I got a chance to get up and down. My buddy's like, blasted it over the green. I got to get it up and down. So whatever we make these things, and it gets a little ridiculous, but like I hold out for par on 15 from like 120. So we had fun with it, but it was like this great imaginary round. So I played it in my mind, and I tell people that to do that because it's like that's like the reason we all play. We're all little kids, and sometimes we get away with it. Would
you rather get your first hole in one at a Muni with 3 of your buddies, or play a weekend at Augusta National?
Oh, that's a good question. I probably would choose Augusta because I'm like, I'll just get one with my buddies later on, because you never know when that Augusta thing comes around. And honestly, the hole-in-one thing is kind of fun because I have no hole-in-ones. I went through both these tours, and my previous efforts it's something, I don't know what the count is, but it's in like the 16 or 17,000 attempts on par threes that I have not made a hole-in-one. So I should have like 3 or 4, but it's kind of fun to have the chase. I'm still in the journey. I'm like still hunting. If I made one, I just been like, I made one. It's kind of done. It's over with. No big deal. But now it feels kind of special. Like, will I ever get one? So I'm living the chase, and that's exciting. It was fun to like always be there. So many close calls. I've seen 4 of them lip out. Like literally seen them. I mean, I'm sure I've had some that have lipped out that I haven't seen. But I mean, come on, it just hasn't happened for me. No, I think I'd pull that round of Augusta. Maybe I'll make a hole-in-one on 12.
It's going to happen to both of you, and it's going to happen in bunches. I'm sure of it. So what Rob has done is he's moved into what we call our Shotgun 9, which is our version of speed golf, which you do on your podcast. Mm-hmm. So these questions, Rob went ahead and right into speed golf. So let's just keep it going. What do you find more frustrating, golf or politics?
Oh, definitely politics. Because I feel like I have so little control over that. It's just golf. There's at least a smidgen of perceived control.
If you could change one rule in golf or one law, what would it be?
Mm. Um, Two things. I've often threatened to run for some sort of elected office under the guise that there would be you couldn't have any additional fees. Like the advertised price was the price. I think that one really bothers me. I imagine you have to pull some heavy strings in politics to get anything. I mean, you'd be thrown in jail. Like if you were like $5 foot long and you went in there and they tried to charge you $5.25 or some of that garbage, you'd be strict penalties for that. I think people would get behind that. What other rules? I mean, the term limits. I feel like these guys are hanging around for way too long. That's let's get them fighting for their jobs. That's what keeps them fresh, keeps them hungry, doing the right things. And then in golf's perfect. Those are the rules. I love watching people argue about this shit because it's so stupid, and it's kind of like oh great, here comes another argument about like why you should be able to take it out of a divot. It's like it's part of what makes golf great. It's like this weird ass set of rules we've got that like people know or don't know, and they're good. Nobody's like Rory McIlroy is not 100th in the world because of the rules. He's number one. He's going to be number one. Rules are rules, and so I think they're fine.
Rob wants to change that rule though. He wants to change the divot rule. Yesterday, Rob, I'm playing with the former Speaker of the House in Oklahoma.
This is why we need these rules
at the Muni course, South Lakes Golf Course in Jinx, Oklahoma. And we get to 18, and former Speaker Benj hits a nice drive right down the middle of the fairway. We get up to his ball, and it is sitting in a deep divot. Now, Chris Benj, friend of the podcast, been on the show, golf purist. And I brought up, I said, hey, my co-host, he wants to change that rule. He thinks it's a terrible. He goes, nah, how would you ever define what a divot is or not divot? You got to play it.
I want to clarify.
And he goes, let me tell you something. I'm going to hit a 7-wood out of this line. I'm going to hit a good shot. And he peered it out of that divot. That was an amazing shot. So
I want to clarify that. Matt put a microphone in my face at my golf tournament. I'd already been drinking, and it was the first rule I could think of.
All right, if you could change one rule in government or politics or government or golf, what would it be?
In golf, I would get rid of. I'd let people move the ball out of a divot.
And so, in order to be smooth and continue, I really don't give a shit about the divot.
It makes good entertainment for
and
the podcast.
In fact, I am money out of divots. I'll stick it tight out.
I will agree with that.
I'll flush it right out of there. Yeah. Okay, so
it's the
we've done the RV.
That ruins it when you hit it in the divot and then you get a bad attitude and you start thinking you can't hit this shot, then you can't. But if you go up there the dude had it, he's like, I'm gonna hit a 7-wood, I'm gonna stuff it. It's not
his attitude was great. Yeah, it was a great.
Have that attitude, man, and just kind of fight through some of this BS because you're gonna get bad breaks, bad lucks. It's life. It's golf. I mean, it's just right. It's just right.
Yeah. Okay, so we've done the RV tour around the U.S. If we're going to take this international, and maybe it's an abridged version, what country are we taking the RV to, and where are we looking to play?
Well, we did do one, which was my buddy Olivier was like, "Have you ever thought about bringing this to France?" And so I was like, "Let's do it." And we did a month. We called it the RGV Tour de France, which the name was great. The name was great. I love the name. It didn't get quite as much exposure as the world record, but I got to see a bunch of cool stuff in France. Now, if I had to choose where I was doing it, I mean, obviously Scotland and Ireland are good, but I have seen a lot of that already. So I'm taking it to to Australia, dude. We're gonna like make some weirdo courses out there in like the outback, and then we're gonna play the Sandbelt, and then like put it on a ferry and drive it over to New Zealand, and it's gonna be like, let's call it 70 days, maybe 72 days, and just play a couple courses each day. Glorious. I mean that for me is kind of like my untapped frontier of I've seen none of the golf in Australia. I've never been, and that's
me either.
Must
I'm
go
in.
to. Let's do it. Let's go.
Let's do it. This is how it happens, Matt. This is yeah.
All right. Well, there's nobody I'd rather go to in Australia than with you, Rob.
Awesome.
I don't know if we'll have an RV, but maybe we can do it old school and get a hotel and experience some of these great Sandbelt courses and just have some shrimps on the Barbie.
Good day, mate. Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
I think we need a real kangaroo as a mascot, like a real, like
Kangaroo.
kind of like an angry one that like eventually warms up to us.
Most of them, if you've seen those guys, kangaroos can fight. I mean, they're
yeah,
you messed with. So
they're nasty bastards. Yeah, they'll kick you.
Brainstorm on this. There's something here.
They do that front kick, that double front kick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want any part of that.
No, there's a couple good videos of like a dude squaring up to this kangaroo. He like slaps it in the face, and they kind of like, it's pretty funny.
Let it go, Tonks. Let's go.
The internet's good for that sort of thing.
All right, Patrick, who's better at rating pizza, you or Dave Portnoy?
Oh yeah, I did a pizza thing, and like Dave's got so much practice, man. So at first I was a little jealous because I'm like, I think I love pizza more than anybody. So I think, if I'm going to say me, that's out of, a place of negativity where I'm like hating on it. I don't want to be a hater. So I'm going to say, I got to give it to the man. It's, had the experience and he's been to the places. And maybe when he first started, he wasn't quite the pro that I consider myself. And, maybe I'm just not the pro I consider myself. But, that's a good gig. I love watching those.
Well, he likes coal-fired pizza and no flop. What are your things you look for in a good
See,
pie?
kind of my weakness is that I'm overzealous about all types of pie. I feel like the best critics kind of like have the ability to lay into Pebble Beach. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're both good. What are you gonna do? But if you want to really get good at it, you got to talk about how 4 or 5 holes at Pebble Beach are ho hum, and Pine Valley just doesn't miss a beat. If that makes sense.
It does. Perfect sense.
Hey, Rob, you know that Dave Portnoy went to Wheeling, West Virginia and hated on DeCarlo's Pizza, so he's... I lost all confidence in his ability to critique pizza.
He has one of the rare abilities today to be one of those people where like one day he'll give a hot take on something and I'll be like, I like that guy. And the next day he'll give a hot take and I'll be like, I can't stand that son of a bitch. And it's, that's a good thing.
It's funny because when people mention like random cities in the U.S., when you mentioned Wheeling, West Virginia, immediately went to Wheeling Country Club. It's an old like underappreciated Devereaux Emmett, and
it's not even open anymore. It's closed, and
they closed it.
Yeah, so I have a house right next to it, like literally a mile and a half down the road, just north.
It was.
Rob and I grew up in the Ohio Valley, right by Wheeling, and played a lot of golf. This is actually the first time I shot a 70 in a tournament when I was a junior, and it was like my best round ever in a tournament. But it was a unique golf course that they closed it up, and you can't even recognize that there was a golf course there. It's unbelievable.
That's the thing about golf courses. People don't realize you got to upkeep them, and to keep when I played it, I could see some of the bones of the of old Emmett and the golden age design, and I got excited for playing it. I was the only one there
with West Virginia topography. I mean, crazy slopes.
It's awesome. It's one of those places that if they got the right guy on there, it'd have to be
I was shocked that Ogilvy Resort, which is it's a municipal resort in Wheeling there. They have 3 golf courses. I'm surprised they didn't just buy it and add a 4th golf course because they've always had, their 2 main championship courses are just jam-packed on the weekends. Yeah. So it would have been a good move for them to buy it, but I don't know. Didn't work out.
There's opportunity there in Wheeling. West Virginia doesn't get a lot of golf talk, so I'm glad we
Pikewood, one of my top 5. Pete Dye, one of my top 10.
I guess it does. But I do remember this also. Search on that little RV world record tour. I would always search for a little something from every course that I went to, and when I went into that pro shop, it was like barren. You kind of tell it was on the way out. And I asked the guy, "Is there anything I can put in my RV?" to say I was here, and he went on a thing. He went to the back room and he got this old big sticker, and it said Wheeling Country Club, and he gave it to me, and I was like, "This will work. I'll find a place to put it." And I remember I put it in the shower in the RV. There's a thing in the top there that kind of had a sunlight, and the sticker fit perfectly in the sunlight, and so that was what I would say. Shout out to Journey. That was the Wheeling in the sky.
That's great.
So throughout this experience, everybody everybody's heard of the big courses that you got to play, but name a couple just absolute surprises, just hidden gems that really stand out and made the trip, that much more special.
Yeah, it's that. This is the one that everybody wants to know, and there's no less than like 25 of these things. I think I put a list of my hidden gems in the back of that book there, and so you can go through those, and I talk a little bit about them. The ones that were like clearly in that category for me is a guy that explores a lot of stuff, and I'm saying like some people back in the day. There's some obvious ones that have kind of come out now, and they're no longer a big deal. What's the one in Lawsonia Links? That was a hidden gem. It's not a hidden gem now. It's like, front and center for Langford and Moreau. Everybody knows about it. But some ones that I really liked was Devil's Thumb in like western Colorado. Nobody plays that freaking place. Don't Be Dumb, Play the Thumb was one of my favorite things. Black Mesa in New Mexico. It's really good. Black Mesa is really awesome. Another place that's just like difficult to get to. Not a lot of people go to New Mexico. New Mexico's got some heaters over there, but nobody goes to. It's kind of a place that's got some stuff. There's a bunch of kind of like stuff in the Sandhills that's really good. That's almost like it's not really a sleeper because everybody knows that like that area of the Sandhills in Nebraska is all got some bangers in it. What was another one? The one that really got me that I hadn't heard of that was, kind of really fit that for me. And there's a good chapter about like the Nazi gemstones in Blackjack's Crossing out there in Lahidas. I think it's Lahidas Golf Resort. Speaking of politics, I'm on the range, and there's like a big, massive statue of, I don't know who it was, one of these politicians that got canceled from back in the day. Like this thing used to be like in downtown Dallas, and then they found out this guy like owned whatever slaves or did something bad back in the day. So they canceled him and got rid of the thing. And the guy that owns the place bought the thing. Whatever way you think about politics, he's like he bought it after they canceled it, and he put it on the driving range. So there's this huge statue of this guy on this horse. I don't know if I'd have done that, but I looked at just the way he told that story to me. I looked at him and I was like, that's badass. It really was just kind of the sentiment of like, I want to create my own sort of thing. And like, here I am out in the middle of nowhere, just doing what I want. And I supported that. I don't believe in slavery, but this man's right to do what he wants and have his own beliefs was cool, and the spirit rang true in that place. Let me tell you, out there in Blackjack's Crossing, a wild place. They got hot springs like flowing through one of these holes. You can hit a ball into Mexico. At one point during the round, you really have to hit it a pretty good amount over this is like the Rio Grande over there. It's like this wild place, but it's like 7 hours west of San Antonio, so it's not in Big Bend National Park. It's a national park up there. It's freaking awesome. That one was usually my response. There's a couple others, but those are the ones that popped into my brain.
Does the game of golf need more Jewish pork traders?
Yeah, I think that's a direct quote in my book. Says the game of golf does need more Jewish pork traders. It definitely does. In Forgan's chapter, that man. He gave the largest donation out of anybody to the first tee, so thanks Forgan for that. And then he gave just his time and energy and his connections and his hilarious jokes Forgan is one of those guys that if you're in like this world of elite golf courses, everybody knows who Dave Forgan is, and he's a pleasure by all accounts. I've just the first time I played with him, I didn't know what to think of him. I was like, oh, here's another rich guy wanting to play golf. Cool. I love rich guys, playing golf with rich guys. So it was all good. But then, there's kind of a little something there, and maybe I underestimated him because like the next time I played golf with him, I was like, this may not be the funniest guy in the world. And there's like, you can't really, there's just something about him that like hits my funny bone, and he's just a true pleasure to play with. So yeah, we need more.
He's currently in Antarctica. I've been following his stories, but I echo your sentiment on Dave Forgan. We're going to have him and his stepson Tyler on soon to talk about playing the World 100 together.
Yeah.
I love the guy. I love both of them. We've played just in the last year alone. We've done trips to Scotland, England, France, China,
Yeah.
and then here in the States, Arizona, New York.
I
The
always
guy's
think, man, he'd
hilarious.
go someplace
When
without me.
I
I always
first
wanted to.
when you talk to him, you think this guy's probably actually killing the hogs himself, but it turns out he owns the whole company and is
He
a
is. He
trader.
comes from that. He's one of those guys that's self-made, that knows how to do all the stuff and did it all. One of my favorite stories he tells. I don't know if you've heard this one. The one where he threw a stapler at his old boss or his old partner. Asked him to tell the story about when he threw a stapler at his I think before he because I think they were partners, and then he chucked a stapler at him and said, "Fuck you, I'm starting my own shit." And he did. So the stapler story, I was like rolling around. He told me at Cotton River, it was on a par 3. He told me the story. I was like rolling on the ground, just imagining David Forgan chucking a stapler. And the way he tells the story, I don't know. There's some. It's not. It's like I couldn't even re-say it. It's like the greats all have this way of delivery, and he really gets me going. I love that guy.
Well, Patrick, I can tell we've talked about Mr. Forgan at least a half dozen times on our podcast. I've not yet been able to meet him, and he's yet to come on our podcast. Rob's invited him multiple times. We're hoping that one of these days he will come on, as I'm sure there'll be lots of stories. But look, you've been very generous with your time. We just have one more question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, what weighs more, 100 pounds of golf balls or 100 pounds of golf clubs? No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Great question. You'll have to read the book to figure out why that is an absolutely
exactly. But let me ask you the real final question that we ask all of our guests. If you had to pick a dream foursome, but this foursome had to include a politician, living or dead, a celebrity, living or dead, and a professional tour player, living or dead, who is your dream foursome?
Yeah, it's got to be Tiger Woods as a tour player. I guess you can still consider him a tour player. And then we have celebrity, which this is kind of a fun thing. When you got that question before, I would put Bill Murray in like 100% of the time. Then I actually played golf with Bill Murray. He was in one of my foursomes. So I feel like
did you play with him at Sullivan County?
No, I did it.
No?
I played him.
Okay.
I played even better. I played the old course with Bill Murray.
Wow. Okay.
After the Dunhill, he does the Dunhill every year. He just loves it over there. Yeah, he's a sicko, just like us. And he played, and he stuck around for like the media day afterwards. None of the celebrities do that. And he came out and played with just some media guys, and it was great fun, man. Bill Murray is the real deal. Some people you don't want to meet the celebrities. But geez, who do I get in there now? Wahlberg would be kind of interesting. I've seen him around, so I know he's big into the golf.
I could see you with Justin Timberlake. I think you guys would hit it off.
JT would be a good one. JT did the Dunhill once, so I've shared a fairway with JT, but I had a camera in my hand, and he had the golf clubs. Ask Ashley about JT. She's like pals with him now, which is funny because she was used to be an NSYNC fan back in the day. Tell the story when he first called her, because they played together at an event, and she gave him her phone, they exchanged information or whatever it was, and then she later on that night he just called her to ask her a question, or like a normal person would, but she just answered the phone. She's like, "Hey Ashley, it's JT," and she was just like, "Oh, shut up," because it was just one of those moments where Justin Timberlake is calling you to chat about stuff. That golf has a great way of bringing all this celebs and people. It's just all kind of wipes away the shit, and you're all just let's hit a ball in a field, and then you're just all people doing the same thing. It's a great equalizer. So I've been, I don't know who else I'd put in there. I really have to brush up on that. And then politician, I would have to say I just got a chance to play behind Barack again at Vineyard Golf Club. He hangs out there in Martha's Vineyard in the summer now, and I saw something from Barack that I hadn't seen from him in just normal life. He missed a short putt, and he was he got fiery. He was like, "Damn it, Barack!" He kind of got at himself a little bit, and I was like, there's something there. There's the guy that is not polished and presented to us as this politician. I'd love to get in there and hang with Brock. I've always admired the man, despite what my playing partners at Tuscaloosa had to say about him. I never finished that story. So when I came around on the second tour, I played with a group of people. I told that story to them, and they profusely apologized, and it was a spectacular round. So, shout out to the ability to make wrongs right and to come full circle and revive my faith in the human spirit once again, even when it's lost. So,
Patrick, I want to just say first, thank you for going on this tour twice and coming up with lots of great, entertaining moments for us in the United States of Golf. Tell our listeners where they can get this book, where they can find you on social media, and I can't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah, well, thank you for the recommendation. It's from the Back Nine Press. Google my name or the United States of Golf. We're shipping now. They're hitting people's desks and they're reading them. So people are loving it. It's PJ Koenig. It's my website and my Instagram. My Instagram is my website, and there's more golf photos and stories than you could ever read through on those two places. So, thank you fellas for having me out, and it's a pleasure, Rob, being your friend, and Matt, we're friends now. Let's call it. Let's call it
awesome.
official.
Thank you so much.
Let's get some golf together. Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah. You
well,
bet.
thanks to everybody that listens. Please go to golfandpolitics.com, sign up for our email newsletter. We email you every time a new episode comes out, and anywhere you get content, social media or podcast, we're there. And Patrick, thanks again for joining us tonight. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you guys.